Give Brian 1 minute and then we're gonna start.
I wouldn't be able to tell otherwise.
I'm messaging her. It's on her calendar to be here today.
Oh, in person, usually Missy's online.
Yeah, no, that's why I'm messaging her. She messaged me this morning, so I'm saying her that's come on, we're having some issues.
Okay,
I'm waiting.
okay, great, yeah, because usually that, if she doesn't bake, then she has to be.
Because we do need
If you hit redial, it'll call me directly, so I'll be upstairs.
We really appreciate you. Thank you.
And what did you say? your name was?
Kevin.
Kevin, and then does Brian's glasses?
No, those are my glasses.
Gotcha,
I'm
okay.
leaving those.
There you go.
Thank
A
you.
lot of the drugs are medications. Yeah, that's.
Thank you for everybody for your patience.
In the, then they find out, hey, wow.
Hey, Matt, we're just doing 1 second on Brian.
And.
Sorry.
Just a quick announcement.
Yeah.
If anyone's parked in the lot, you have to move to the back lot.
Just tell them.
The way back
Just tell me,
there.
Brian.
You're way back or you're on the street, you're okay, but if you're here, you have to move your car.
Yeah, did anyone
It's
park?
Brian.
this-
In the front.
Brian,
I
this
moved.
front lot? Everybody's good?
None of
On
us.
the road.
All
Good
right,
thing about people have.
thanks, Heather.
Okay, Brian, tell us when you're ready. and we'll-
Oh, ready whenever you are.
Okay, Matt, would you start us off? Okay, great. Good morning. I'm calling to order the Connecticut State Advisory Council for Special Education Committees. Oh, I can't have both the council and committee. Meeting on Wednesday, October 16th at 10:15 a.m. So sorry for the delay. We had a little bit of technical issues on our side. I'm Susan Yankee. I'm the chair and I am a parent member. So again, the acronym reminder. During this meeting, take a second to explain what it means if you use one. We're keeping an acronym quarter jar and it's filling up. Council purpose, introduction, roles, council purpose and function. The SAC brings together the Connecticut State Department of Education, CSDE, and the SAC, of course, is us, Connecticut State Advisory Council. Educators, related service providers, administrators, legislators, parents, as well as students and persons with disabilities, all dedicated to supporting the education of students with disabilities. Through these meetings, our priorities and recommendations for the CSDE Connecticut General Assembly are formed. There's more detailed information on the Connecticut State Department of Education website, along with past meeting videos and annual reports. Okay, introduction and roles. Members, I'd love if you'd introduce yourself and your role on the council. First, we're going to start online and then we're going to go around the room. So I guess, Anna, would you start?
Absolutely. Anna Wittig, I represent state-approved private special education schools,
Great.
also
Would you guys,
known as APSEPs.
thank you. So when we say abscess, we know what we're talking about. Would you guys just go around the room because I can't quite read everyone's names.
I'll go.
I can't really
Well,
see.
good morning. I'm Denise Drummond, Legislative Policy Analyst with the Connecticut Commission on Women, Children, Seniors, Equity and Opportunity, and I'm a parent of a child who is autistic.
Call out somebody, Denise.
What's that?
Call out somebody else on the screen and then call around.
Oh, Dimpy.
Hi, thank you, Denise. Hi, this is Dimpy Malvania. Good morning, everyone. I'm a parent stakeholder and I have 2 kids with special needs. Thank you.
If call someone else up.
I call
Me.
Lori.
Lori's muted.
I will go first. Jolie Medina, State Department of Education, Assistant to the State Advisory Council, and to Brian Klimkowitz, Director of Special Education. Lori.
Thanks, Jolie, for the save. Hi, everyone. I'm Lori Fortuna. Only had 1 cup of coffee this morning, and I am a parent stakeholder, which is why I couldn't unmute quick enough. And I will call, let's see, Brian Smith.
Thank you, Lori. Good morning, everybody. Brian Smith. I'm Assistant Regional Director at the Department of Developmental Services, and I represent all of the partners that our agency works with on a daily basis. I'm going to kick it over to Representative Comey.
Thank you, Brian. Representative Comey, represent Branford, and I am the legislative
appointee here on the committee. Thank you for having me.
Call somebody, Robin.
Allison.
Allison
Yeah,
Torpey.
Allison.
Good morning, everyone. My name's Allison Copey, and I represent the Department of Aging and Disability Services, specifically the Bureau of Rehabilitation Services, also known as BRS.
Great. I think we got everybody, right? Would you go next, Jennifer?
I think so.
Good morning, Jennifer Lucier, and I'm a parent stakeholder.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Catherine Sum, and I represent Aging and Disability Services, Bureau of Education and Services for the Blind.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Sean Cronin. I work with Brian at the State Department of Education.
Tom Kosker, Disability Rights Connecticut advocate, and I'm also a parent.
Jim Williamson, I represent speech language pathologists.
Morning, everybody. Nachi Bhatt, representing DCF, specifically children in foster care.
Good morning, Rivapula Rita Helkias, representing Unified School District Number 1, Department of Corrections.
Good morning, Josh Martin. I'm representing the Connecticut Council for Administration of Special Education, or CONFAS.
I'll go next. Brian Funkwood, Special Education Division Director. Morning, everyone.
Good morning, everyone. Christine Killen, consultant at the State Education Resource Center. Good morning, Holly Ryan, Project Specialist, State Education.
Thank you. And Rita, I want to say big welcome.
Thank you.
Glad you're here.
Susan, Susan.
Yeah.
If you can have the members can speak a little louder.
Sure, definitely. Okay.
Thank you.
Am I loud enough?
You sure are. And Brian, and I could hear you and Brian clearly, and Tom Koskers.
Excellent. Okay, next public comment. Is there anybody for public comment, Jolie?
Nope. No, we don't have anyone on the Zoom with us, and that's where they would be joining today.
Oh, okay. All right. Okay, next, consent agenda. We have July 10th and September 18th full council minutes for approval. The first is, are there any corrections to the July 10th? No?
I have a correction. My name is on there twice.
You
Excellent.
did twice as much contribution.
Thank you, Jen.
And I have a question. We're putting together the 2024 annual report, correct? I believe so. Yeah, because we have 2025 on old business.
Oh, it's 2024.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
The minutes were really very clear. Thank you, Jolie.
And I was not listed as absent. I was on a cruise.
Okay, Kim was absent, Jolie. Can you hear me?
Yep, yep, thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, great. So would someone like to make a motion to approve the July 10th meeting minutes with corrections? Nachi. Anyone want to second that, including you online?
Tom Kosker.
Oh, Tom, too late. Lori got it. Lori. Okay, is there anybody who needs to abstain that wasn't at the meeting? Kim. Probably Rita. Okay, great. All approved? Oh, wait, second. Sorry, second. Make a motion. Oh, we did second. I'm losing my mind today. All approved? Great. The July 10th meeting minutes are approved with corrections. The next are the Wednesday, September 18th minutes need to be approved. Are there any corrections? I have one. Jolie, under old business. Number 2, do you see where it says Catherine S. notifies members and? I just think that either you're missing something or you just needed to.
Thank you. I will take a look at that.
Okay, great. Does anybody else have any corrections?
I think that can. There were a couple people listed twice.
Okay.
Members present.
Okay, what do you got?
Representative Comey is listed in the beginning and towards the end.
Okay, so Representative Comey, you were at the meeting with the doppelganger, so we have to just take off one Representative Comey under members present.
And Mary Beth was on there twice.
And Mary Beth Bruder, she's on there twice.
Excuse me, I don't know. I don't see the option to raise hand, but I think I was at the meeting as well, and I see my name in the people absent.
And for the September meeting?
Yes.
Thank you, Dimpy.
Everybody is that good?
Are we good?
Anyone else?
Motion to approve minutes as amended.
Thank you so much.
Second.
That was Tom and Jennifer, and anyone abstain who wasn't there? Okay, all approved? All right, excellent. Done. Okay, next we have, me, executive committee report. So Jolie, I just want to confirm with you, we are moving the LOB breakfast to January 22nd, 11 to 12 a.m. Is that correct? You and Representative Comey? Thought that would be good.
I have not. I have. Thank you. It's tentative. Representative and Comey and I are working on that.
Right. And the snow date would be January 29th and yeah, they're both tentative. So it's January 22nd, 11 to 12 a.m. with a snow date of the 29th. And this is tentative. And Representative Comey thought it would be, we'd get possibly more people at 11 a.m.
Sleepy legislators.
No, drive it in. Okay, and then give them time, if it is snowing, they can actually clear the roads, right? And we know about school by then. Okay, so first annual report workshop is virtual Wednesday, October 23rd from 9 to 10:30 a.m. So I had sent a quick email to executive committee to change that, but we are good with keeping that. Next executive committee meeting is after that is November 6th, 9 to 10 a.m. Open invitation to any member who's interested in a possible leadership position or curious to see what happens at executive committee meeting. Please attend. You can see how we put together the annual report. And I want to thank Lori for joining us at our last meeting. Next, Special Ed Task Force has concluded their feedback sessions, and RESC, Regional Educational Service Centers, is currently reviewing the feedback from those sessions. And there's also, we were sent, I'm sure people were on it, the report established by the Connecticut Conference of Municipalities. It says it issued a bold proposal to deal with disconnected youth. And the report, I don't have it to send in the chat. It's called Young People First. It's a number of proposals, including therapeutic in-school suspension and incentives for shared services among school districts. And I think that's something that we should look at when we're talking about our priorities and recommendations to see what other people are doing. And this group might be someone that we want to share our annual report with. Okay, next Special Education Task Force meeting is Tuesday, November 5th at 9:30 a.m. And it's usually live streamed on CTN or YouTube. So nothing has happened really at the task force yet. We're just waiting on all the feedback sessions before we move forward. Do I have that correct, Brian? Because you are on the task force with me. Yeah. And that's basically all I have. Ms. Catherine Sum, please do the membership committee report.
All right, so the membership committee met yesterday and we reviewed a large number of membership surveys. We have one vacancy on the council for a parent or an adult with a disability. So, sorry. Oh, can you hear me? Sorry, Jen just reminded me to speak louder. Okay, so the membership committee met yesterday and we reviewed the membership surveys that we've received because we do have a vacancy on the council for an adult with a disability or a parent of a child with a disability. We had a very robust discussion. What a good problem. So many good candidates, but we do have a candidate we would like to recommend, and I will present that candidate to the executive committee the next time that they meet. And in addition to discussing the surveys, we also reviewed the actual SAC survey because the information we're receiving doesn't actually give us enough information about the prospective candidates. So We reviewed it and we came up with some ideas. Again, some of these need to be reviewed with Brian and the executive committee. And I'd also like to thank Brian Smith for submitting a sample application that is used by another state organization. So thank you, Brian Smith. We considered some of the ideas on that form, and that is it for membership.
Thank you. And we are actually ahead of the game now, Tom. Did you see that?
I did, I just.
Woohoo! Try and do it fast. Okay, Mr. Jeff Spar.
Before on the membership, I just want to say I did get something from the governor's office for the reapplication to get in.
Great.
So I just wanted to say.
Okay. Thanks, Jeff. Thank you. And I think Brian probably had a lot to do.
No, yeah, I'm just putting that on the record. Thank you.
Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, for those parents that are governor appointed, Tom Scanlon from the Office of the Governor reached out recently multiple times. So if you haven't been in touch, or he should have been in touch, at least initially, fill out the application. So letters are right on the horizon.
That's awesome. Thank you. And that was Mr. Jeffrey Spark. We would love to hear a legislative committee report.
Okay, thank you. So just some highlights coming from last year, just as a look back. So there was a Public Act 24-9. And it's entitled an act establishing a task force to study the effects of hate speech and bullying on children. So it's not necessarily a special education statute, but it has to do with bullying. And I think a lot of the kids that we have sometimes are subject to bullying. I know that my son was. And so I just wanted to put that on the horizon. And what that says is it's establishing a task force to study the effects of and social impact of hate speech and bullying on the children. And that not later by January 1st of this next year, 2025, the task force is to submit a report to the General Assembly's Children Committee. So I think that's a positive act that's going into effect. In addition, from the last, there's a public act, it's 24-41. And that officially changed throughout the vernacular of the statutes to the term to paraeducator. So it changes to paraprofessional, and paraprofessional teacher is now going to be technically referred to as paraeducator throughout the various statutes. In addition, section 23 of that public act amended section 10-76D10. It's a notice requirement. It requires the school's notice must be given to parents, guardians, or students before a special education PPT meeting to include the rights the law provides them at these meetings. So that's a requirement that was put in place. An additional highlight is there was another public act. It was 24-41. And that was to plan to convert the State Board of Education into an advisory board. Again, not specifically to special education, but an overview. There was also, by September 1st, there was a deadline for the State Department of Education to distribute to the school boards any ARPA funding for paraeducators for professional development. So there's supposed to be a dissemination of the funds. There was also creation of an insurance program for paraeducators, which would be good for those. Finally, in another act, which was Public Act 24-93, it was subsection 11 was entitled Parental Notification of Student Behavior Causing Disruption or Harm of Behavior Intervention Meeting. And what that said was that within 24 hours of an incident, there was supposed to be notice given to the parents in the language that's fitting for them. There was supposed to be held a behavior intervention meeting, not more than 7 days after reporting to the, they have to give a report to the parents. So there has to be this behavior intervention meeting, which I think is good for everybody.
And Jeff, they did say in the language of the parent, the notification.
I will double check on that. I believe that was true, but I'll double check when I have a chance and I'll report in this meeting. And then also on the Special Education Task Force, they're also adding a representative. The Connecticut Council of Administrators was going to be added to the task force, and that this new appointee is going to be serving as the third chairperson for the task force. And so those are some of the highlights of the last education, at least legislative session. I'll check on that figure right now, Susan.
Oh, yeah, thank you, because I know that was one of the requests that was put forward to Senator Curry.
Yes.
And I thought it didn't move forward. Okay, next is me. I'm giving the Safety and Emergency Ad Hoc Committee, and they sent you a document. I was wondering if you could pull it up. It was called Individualization and Belonging.
You want me to pull up the document?
Yeah, to put up, I think, Jolie,
Oh,
you
I
sent
can't
it.
project on
You
here.
can't, okay.
But if Jolie could, or.
Jolie,
I
do you
could
have that
zip
document?
drive.
I'm gonna give me a moment. I'll project it for my group here.
If you can't, then I can just talk us through. It'll only just take a couple of minutes.
Give me a moment. I just have to pull up that document. Which one are we going over? The annual report?
No, individualization and belonging. It's the ad hoc safety committees. What we did at our last meeting.
Brian, you said I have that one?
If you guys
know.
don't, it's
If
okay.
not, you will.
It was sent,
I sent it to Jolie and,
from you?
yeah. And then
Pull it
she
up right
said
now,
that she was
Jolie.
sending it to you.
When?
Thank you. It was probably it was right after we had our meeting. If not,
Someone could just forward it to me quick?
no, it's
Look at
okay. It's
that,
not
Jolie.
important. I can just go through it. I can just go through it. If I'm talking too fast, just slow down, Susan. Okay. Individualization and belonging is kind of what we ended up with right at the end of that meeting. So all school safety and security template, which is the guideline for schools to fill out their safety plans for the year. Annex M, emergency plan for students with disabilities. The Department of Emergency Management and Homeland Security and the Connecticut Department of Emergency Services and Public Protection are the ones who are in charge of that template, correct? Okay, I'm looking at Josh because he works with this at school. So our school ad hoc safety committee, we kind of came up with some simple things that we can look at in priorities. The school safety committees that are at school and district level, they need a member with a special education perspective. They need to prepare first responders for interactions with students with special needs. They need a universal process or plan for developing individualized plans, because what we found out is the plans are just general. They're not individualized to the student. With relevant disabilities. So if the student has a relevant disability that needs extra planning in an emergency, they need to have an individualized plan. And this plan can travel with students between grades or districts and be easily modified. And Brian had that great suggestion. General Assembly recommendation. So there's a Public Act 10-231, and this is for you too, Jeff. It's fire and crisis drills. An addition of the words accommodations for students with relevant disabilities in the fire and crisis drills. And also that all students with disabilities are included in safety drills unless parents or guardians request they not be included. These are what we came up to. Then there's a Public Act 13-3, Section 86, Part B, and we were suggesting that you add member with a special education perspective. So that's, I believe, dealing with the school. No, I think that's fire and safety. No, school safety again. Sorry, I should have that pulled up. Then we have CSDE and State Board of Ed recommendations. We think that there needs to be a little bit more communication to districts about free resources, such as the Connecticut Connecticut Center for School Safety. The Department of Emergency Management and Homeland Security has free go bags and kits. And they have a 5th grade program for school safety, right? Josh just connected with them. And Safe and Sound Schools are another great resource. So we thought that was something that could be easily done. That there are universal substitute folders with individualized emergency plans. Easy access to emergency medications. And the requirement that all students with disabilities are included in safety drills unless parent or guardians request they not be included. So this document is kind of what our meeting, is kind of what our meeting we tried to clarify for today. And the reason we have the 2 public acts is that they already exist and all they have to tack on is accommodations for students with disabilities, just rather than having a whole new legislation. So these are things that we can talk about in priorities and recommendations, but this is just what we came up with as a committee. Anyone who's on the committee have any comments, or anyone have any comments?
So when, one of the pieces around the individualized plans, we were talking about how many school districts probably look at and teams look at these for high needs students or students who may be affected. And just that there is a process for them to consider when they look at it, instead of their kind of being randomly generated considerations at all schools and districts. Something more systematic.
Because you're on your school, aren't you on your school safety?
Yeah, yes, but this was more for looking at the individual needs of students at
Right.
In emergency. I talked about a couple of our high need students and how our OTPT kind of plans and works with the case managers and communicates to families. But what that process looks like universally.
Right.
No, I guess I'll just say that I think that it was a great group. I appreciated the opportunity to work on the group with the committee, and I think we came up with a lot of good stuff. Then it's just a matter of this, I think, is gonna go towards the State Department of Ed and whoever else, the General Assembly, and so we're gonna put these in our recommendations for the report this year, is that? the
Well,
idea?
we have, so everything that
Obviously, we're
goes to
gonna
committee,
discuss
yeah,
this in
goes,
full
we're gonna discuss
Right,
it as
we're
well,
gonna discuss it
yeah.
as full. Is that being discussed today?
Yeah, right,
okay.
yeah, right. I'm looking at the man who's in charge of the computer.
Well, no, I didn't look closely at the agenda to see exactly.
It
but
should be,
if
it
that's
should be
something
a
that-
priority, yeah, this is
Right,
this year,
Right, so then we're
yeah,
gonna talk about that as far as, okay,
yeah, this
Yeah,
is
so
this
the
year.
ad hoc committees have a separate section in their
Right.
report.
I remember.
And if there are priorities from the ad hocs, they
Right.
could be confused also.
Well,
You have
okay,
op-
right,
you have
another
options.
Right, because our priorities recommendations conversation is around moving forward for this
Yes.
year.
Mhm.
But we're also in the midst, I think, of writing the report.
Yeah.
For 2024.
Yeah,
So this,
this will go, and we haven't
we're
even
gonna try to
started yet.
make this
Mhm.
ready for the report for 2024.
Yep.
In addition to maybe it raising a priority for this year, okay.
Yep.
I just wanted to be clear that I understood.
Thank you,
that
yeah,
part of it.
definitely,
Those are all-
yeah, we don't
yeah.
meet, yeah,
Yeah.
I would, that's why
Yeah.
I wanted to get this done for this meeting, so it could be in our discussion when we form the annual
Right,
report.
perfect.
And now
Awesome.
I just realized I have to write another section of the annual report.
You've got it almost written, 'cause it's right there. It's just copy and paste the bullets, right?
Yeah, yeah, Tom just
So-
volunteered.
So this is a recommendation to amend section 10-231, so it's not Public Act 10-231.
It is,
It's a current public act. that
Yeah,
this
this
was
is to
a
amend. by adding-
recommendation to, hey, can you add this to it?
Yeah,
and that would
was-
go to legislative
Yeah.
committee.
Right, I think it's a good idea, I know as an analogous thing, the state of Connecticut has what's called the Blue Envelope Program, if anybody's familiar with that. So we have that in Norwalk, and I was to push that through, so if you have someone who has a disability, a lot of time, well, basically autism, and if they have a license, the police department can give them a blue envelope in which they would put their registration and their information. So if they're ever pulled over by a police officer, they can hand them the blue envelope and it has some information about the person. I think it's very important to have special ideas for safety and emergency things to let the police know that this person may not act the same as another person as far as lights and sirens and noises and things like that. So I think that's very, very important. So I applaud you guys for that.
Yeah, we discussed that if there is somebody on the school and district safety committees that have a special education perspective, then there are already first responders on there, so they can actually start that conversation.
Yeah, which is good. So I.
Right, and I think it's green for deaf and hard of hearing envelope,
Oh, okay.
yeah,
Oh, interesting. Great.
yeah, I think it's green. Yes, sir.
So I was not at the meeting, but I just have, and maybe not for now, maybe in the priorities discussion, but I'm curious about the request to not participate in a safety drill.
That was Mr.
So I
And then
think,
what that looks like,
yeah,
and then the concerns, I'm sure there's like.
Yeah.
That's totally why we need to bring this in discussion.
Yeah.
That was just a suggestion.
I can
from
respond
someone.
now. I
Yeah.
mean,
Well,
so
it's up to you guys.
it came up just because I personally experienced it, and I've had other parents experience it, where students were not included in safety drills in schools, and often those are
You mean
students.
like lockdown drills.
Yeah,
or
safety
fire
drills, you know,
Routine drills.
routine drills, right? You know, we have to have X number of fire drills and,
Yeah.
safe, whatever they're called, the
Yeah.
Alice drills, right?
Yeah.
Exit drills. And students weren't included in those for a variety of reasons, and generally, this school would say for the safety of the student, right, or something to that effect, because that sounds like a reasonable reason. But the student couldn't communicate that to parents, right, to say like, hey, I didn't do the drill today, right? So just a proactive, if you choose not to have, the parents should be involved in that decision on whether a student is excluded. The default should be all students are included, which I think is the way the default is now, but that's not in practice what's happening. Right, is all students aren't being included in those drills all the time. They make the decision to not include the student for whatever the reason might be. So they should be actively included. Everyone should be included unless you get a decision by a PPT, which would include a parent or a parent sign off saying, okay, it's okay for your child not.
So maybe
my child not to be
wording,
involved. Something like that.
instead of
So
what we
again, and
have.
maybe it's guidance that needs to happen, because I think the rule is all students are included, right? But we know there's
Obviously,
levels.
like getting to the goal, like if there is a fire.
We the obvious reasons to be included in the drill.
And then the emergency.
Right, yeah, I mean, there's obvious reasons to be included in the drill
Yeah.
beyond just everyone should be included, and my student needs to learn about that
Well, it
drill.
kind of
and
goes
experience
back
it.
to the point around the individualization of and making sure everybody knows what's happening at a given time.
In a response I heard from different parents was like, well, your student will have a pair with them anyway in the real drills, so, and the real thing when it happens.
Yeah.
But that's not a wrong answer, like, to me, right? Students should be included, they need to learn how to do the drills, need to experience the drills, that's why we have them. So anyway, so that's where that came from, is because I personally experienced it, and I've talked to other parents who have as well, and so it has improved because I spoke up.
We have,
in my district, but
Is some,
there's lots of other districts.
sorry, Tom, I'm
Yeah.
talking over you. I just heard
No, go ahead.
someone say something.
Go.
No. Ed, someone just talk? Brian?
Online.
I swear I heard Brian. Okay, I'm so sorry, interrupted. So Tom, we just will look at different
Yeah.
wording
If I
and
could add,
different.
like, the other part of that conversation was, it gives a school, when you're including all students, the opportunity to learn from. If you would rather learn from the drill.
During the drill, what did I
than
do
learn
right
from
or
an
wrong?
actual merit, like, right, and to allow then the
Right.
school to come back together and say, okay, well, we need to try something different.
Right.
It's a little scary, at least on the school Concave side. My perspective is us not including students with special education needs in the drill.
Right, and this would also be another level of special education teachers and paras and staff feeling secure that they have a plan and they know what's going on. I think
That's why we do drills.
That's why we do drills.
So, you know.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting, it makes it a two-way street. It's not just the kids learning how to do the drill, it's the administration learning how to work with the kids to do the drill. So that's good.
And it'd be curious, to know, how many times during a drill did you use an area of refuge for a student with, mobility challenges, right? And maybe you didn't, because you're like, that's where you go when it happens. Well, do it and go. Like, and again, I'm sure it's being done very well at some districts and very poorly in other districts. But hence, we need consistency, and that's where this kind of came from.
Thank you for bringing that up. Brian.
Yeah.
Thank you. It did need clarification. Okay, anyone else? I just want to make sure we don't miss anybody because there's a glare on the screen, so. Everyone's good? Okay, next.
Can I just go?
Yes,
answer
sir.
your question?
Oh,
You asked me a question about the dominant language.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so on that particular section, so this is Public Act 24-93, it was section 11. And it says that not later than 7 days after the behavior intervention meeting, the crisis intervention team shall submit to the parent or guardian of each student in the dominant language of such parent or guardian a written summary of such meeting, including but not limited to the resources and supports identified. So it did include that, so that was good.
I think it didn't sound like it was 7 days after, or,
It said-
so not, but not the 24-hour notice that says your child.
A
is
school
not
principal others shall notify parent or guardian student whose behavior has caused a serious disruption to the instruction of other students, caused self-harm or caused physical harm to a teacher, another student, or other
Okay.
school employee, not later than 24 hours.
Oh,
after
okay.
such
I thought
behavior.
Yeah, 24 hours, I thought. Yeah.
Thank you.
That's for the notice. The other one I was talking about was of having the team meeting. and then
Oh, so the
Following
notice,
the
the
notice.
notice says dominant language?
No, the
20.
team meeting report.
Oh,
So such notice shall include but not be limited to informing such parent or guardian, the teacher or record of classroom, such behavior occurred when requested behavior intervention meeting. So you have the notice that has to be within shall notify within 24, not later than 24 hours. That doesn't refer to the dominant language. But then when you
Yeah.
have the meeting,
Really?
yeah, it's on.
It does, yeah.
I thought we changed that. Well, all right. We can look into that for next year, I guess.
Thank you so much. That was, because I thought I heard 7 days. So we had, and Jovi and had talked about the 24-hour notice being in the parent's dominant language.
Right, but that's included in the report, the 7-day report.
Yay. Okay, thank you. All right, thank you, and thank you, Representative Comey. Do I have this right? Next is roundtable. Are we still on time? Yes. We are a minute early. Okay. Okay, great. So I have, at the executive committee meeting, we had discussed that the roundtable is a good place for members to share feedback on other committees that you're on. So just remember that, and also remember that if you have anything to share concerning unmet needs or something wonderful that's going on, please feel free to raise your actual hand or your virtual hand. And remember, we don't share events at the roundtable. They're sent to this Jennifer Lucian, the most wonderful lady who will send it out to the full staff. All right. Okay, anybody have anything to share? Any unmet needs or any wonderful things or something you're on a committee, like a transition committee they're working on, or anything that would help us? Yes, Rita.
I can start. So we started off the school year really, really strong. Between September and December, we have 3 full-day professional development sessions scheduled. My focus this year, along with which aligns with the agency's mission as well, is successful reintegration for all of our students. So we're really honing in on transition. So 2 of the professional development sessions are going to be transition planning. Another focus I have is making sure that everybody that is involved with providing transition services is fully trained. So I have special educators, school social workers, school psychologists, everyone on the team is part of that training, because we look at it more holistically and not necessarily work pockets or isolation. So transition's kind of a big priority area for us. In addition to that, we've done amazing work with the Bureau of Rehabilitation, BRS. Myself and George, I'm not allowed to say people's names.
Oh, yeah.
George McNutt from BRS conducted our first community resource event at Manson Youth Institution. So we had community resources, career resources, workforce board, BRS come out to NYI. There was about 10 stakeholders that came to visit. We had a group of 13 students that participated in the event, all from Northwest region. It's a roundtable per stakeholder, and every single student got to rotate through the tables and provided with resources, information, like a network of supports that they can access once they are released. So that's pretty much so far. I'm still going strong, and I just look forward to a great school year.
Thank you.
A lot going on.
Yeah.
All good stuff.
Anybody?
Just quick question. How big is the school district? Just a sense, the
Yeah.
student number of students?
We have probably around, don't quote me because it
Roughly,
fluctuates,
just ballpark.
2,000 maybe. But again, that fluctuates with probably a snapshot date. If you take a look at every single student that we service throughout an entire school year, it's probably quadruple
Sure,
that.
more, at any given point in time.
Yeah.
2,000.
At about 80%.
That's what I was, my next
special
question was gonna be.
education rate.
Yes.
So if I look at NYI alone, our high school program, I think it's around 83% of those students.
It's about 80% are identified
Yeah.
special education.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, thank you for
What's
that. That's my next
NYI?
Manson Youth Institution, it's a correctional facility that houses individuals between the ages of 22. There are 13 facilities statewide. Our special ed population is scattered throughout all of those facilities.
That would make it one of the larger populations of special education students in one district, if not me.
Yeah, you don't typically think, I mean, you think of a
Well,
large urban like a Hartford.
Right, that's what I'm
or
saying, but even if you take a
Haven.
large Hartford or
Yeah.
Bridgeport at
CTEX is actually another
20%.
example of
Which one?
our technical high school.
Oh, right,
system,
because it's a
we get
larger
17
district.
Locations.
Right.
Their percentage rates.
Yeah. I always thought of it, it's a smaller, obviously, in total, 2,000, but with such a high percentage, that's a large,
That needs our.
that's a large, which I knew they were. I knew they were higher, I just didn't know it was as high as 80%, so it's helpful.
We've also been able to hire reading interventionist, special ed department head, clinical social workers at NYI, so those have really complemented the staff and sort of benefiting from those services. But taking steps in the right direction, but it's not an easy, not an easy task.
Well, we're really glad you're here.
Yeah, thank
We're
you.
really,
This is great.
yeah, it's really important to be here. Thank you. Anybody else?
Susan,
Yeah, Julie. Sorry.
our online team is having a little bit of difficulty hearing so if you guys can if someone can, I think we may have a few questions on that last comment for roundtable. Guys, does anyone need any clarifications? I know we were having, go ahead, Anna, did you? Okay,
It's
someone else
District
did.
1,
Yeah,
Representative
it was just very hard to
Archery
hear.
Youth.
We don't know what's going on here.
Yeah,
Kind of saucy.
and who was
So-
speaking?
The microphone is way on the other
Yeah.
side of the room too, so.
Do you want me to?
Last time they had that
Everybody's at-
owl that we put in the middle. I wonder if we can maybe get this one right there.
Representative Comey, I know you asked what district it is, so it's Unified School District 1, which is with the Department of Corrections. So that's
Oh,
what the conversation's
okay.
been around. Yeah, and Rita Halkis,
Yes.
is our representative from there. So she was just speaking about the programs and the stuff happening at that Unified School District, and she was mentioning Manson Youth Institute, which has a large population of 15 to 22, if I got that right, age students. That's a little brief summary of what we're talking about. We're trying to move your speaker closer.
80% of which was.
Yeah, 80%, so their entire Unified School District 1 student population is roughly 2,000 at any given point in time. And about 80% of those are identified students with special education needs. But she did also comment that number is 2,000 at any given point in time, but over the course of the school year, it might be as high as 4 times as much as that. Students that go through. Just with the
that's
loud.
super interesting. That's really interesting. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And I had asked, when all the legislation went through and it said they were gonna be testing everybody for dyslexia that was incarcerated, and my question was, how is that being
So I've been,
implemented? How is that being implemented? I should be
Yeah.
loud.
So that was Senate Bill 349,
Mhm.
that required, can you guys online hear me? I'm trying to talk a little louder. That required the Department of Correction to screen everybody that has been in our custody for 6 months or longer, sentenced or unsentenced, for dyslexia screening. When we pulled numbers, it ended up being thousands. Really? Of individuals. It was not an easy undertaking, screening that many individuals. Opinions on it. However, we followed through. And currently we're in the process right now of rolling out. We're done with 3 facilities. Next week, we are gonna tackle McDougal, which is the largest of the facilities, 800 individuals in that facility. So we're doing it.
What was that you're tackling? Which facility?
Well, we have to,
McDougal facility was the last one she mentioned.
we have to hit all 13 facilities, but the next one is McDougal.
And she's referring to the dyslexia stuff, if you didn't hear that part.
Legislation?
Yes. And I watch Orange is the New Black, and it's just one of the things that came up.
Take all that out of your mind, Representative Kobe. It's nothing like that.
Okay, anybody else before we move on to, oh, Jeff?
Sorry.
No.
Wanted to announce that, working with State Senate Majority Leader Bob Duff of Norwalk, we're able to work with the governor's office, and we've had in Connecticut the month of October declared as ADHD Awareness Month. We were the first state in the United States to have that done, and this has continued for now over a decade, so I wanted to thank him of that. I had written an editorial on that was appeared in all the Hearst publications, but the gist of it was for the ADHD awareness that we have a tendency sometimes with mental disabilities to refer to somebody as their disability, like saying they are bipolar, they are schizophrenic, and that I wanted the emphasis of the article was that they're more than a diagnosis. That diagnosis is a part of them, but that's not who they are totally. So I want to thank the governor's office for declaring that.
Right, person first language,
Yeah.
always. Great.
Always.
Always?
No, not always. Sorry.
No, I love that.
There are certain disability categories or groups that prefer identity first language. The autistic community sometimes prefers that, and that's what the deaf and hard of hearing.
So it all depends. Right?
Individualized.
So it individualized, because
Ask.
my son prefers
Yeah.
hearing impaired.
Yeah.
And, right,
It's
it's
funny,
individualized, you're
This
right.
has come up in a lot of places that I've been in a lot of
Mm-hmm.
different groups, and like people being afraid to say the word disability. It's disabilities, it's not special needs. That's what IDEA says
Mm-hmm.
is disabilities. And just to ask the person, because it is different based on what the person.
Personal preference.
Yeah.
Awesome, thank you,
That's a
thank
good
you.
point, Chad.
Thank you, thank you. Is there anybody, I don't want to miss anybody for roundtable? Anyone? No, no one online? All right. Oh, Tom Cosker.
I was just waiting, giving everyone
So
a chance
sorry.
to talk, man. So Tom Cosker, Disability Rights Connecticut, couple just, I'll say, high level issues that we're covering and working on right now. I think I may have reported last time on kind of our new priorities and objectives, which come out every October. But outplacement for students with disabilities continues to be an area of focus for us. Employment and transition age type, the stuff involved with transition, and there's a ton of people working on that around the state, but that continues to be an area of focus for us as well. It's just, ensuring appropriate transition services and employment transition services, especially for those with the most significant disabilities. So we continue to work with, our partners at BRS and BESB and TDS and et cetera on that. So that's just kind of a continued thing that we're working on. The other one that I phrased before is about supported decision-making, which is just an alternative decision-making option for students with significant challenges who often end up, getting into guardianship or conservatorship situations. So just pushing supported decision-making in that new law requiring districts to educate and inform parents and students about that as an option, is on the books now, effective this summer. So the State Department of Ed's been working on rolling out their stuff along that lines. So that continues, that work continues our end as well. And then we're actually partnering with another organization. We're doing work to combine those and looking at supported decision-making and employment. Because oftentimes individuals with significant challenges, gaining employment is really challenging, and sometimes guardianship and the lack of individual decision-making gets in the way of that. So utilizing supported decision-making as a way to help individuals make their own choices and decisions on that, on the employment front, to increase employment in that area. So those are a couple of highlights of the stuff that we're working on, and happy to talk to anyone offline about any or all of that.
I have a question. Sure. What was the litigation that was that you guys were involved in with the that this
Oh, no.
buyer wasn't giving the proper instruction?
Is that Jeff?
The litigation that the
Wasn't
supplier,
there
there's a bunch of litigation.
No, the ones
There's
Not
some of the schools weren't giving proper education. Weren't you involved in that investigation?
Well, it wasn't litigation, so, I mean, we had filed the report, we issued a public report on
Okay,
the
yeah, yeah.
investigation back last March.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we issued that report, which is around that outplacement thing, we issued that last March, and then I presented on that to the SAC.
I just don't know if there was an update.
May. Oh, no real update on that, we continue to work with the State Department and others on that, yeah, I mean, I won't go into all the details on that, you can, watch the news releases as they come out or check our website, but yeah, we continue to work in that area in a lot of different pieces of it, different fronts. So yeah, so work, that was my general outplacements comment, we're kind of like working on that in a lot of different fronts, so, thank you.
Thank you.
Of course.
Anybody else? I don't want to miss anybody. Oh, Anna.
No, I actually had a question on Tom's. It's very difficult to hear. So what was the thing about medications? No? I thought you said medications.
Yeah, no medication. Jeff asked about litigation, but
Litigation, okay.
nothing about litigation. There's lawyers involved. There's litigation in this area. No litigation. Or medication. So yeah, nothing.
I need some sort of medication for my
I
ears.
can't talk any louder without screaming. So
You know what? Thank you.
Brian, did you have something as well for me?
Yeah. Yes, Tom Kosker, thank you for that report. I just had a quick question. I hear you, and again, comes in and out a little bit periodically, but for the most part, I caught everything. But did you indicate there's work being done on messaging with individuals who really want to work and perhaps their legal appointed representative has a disagreement with them going out and being competitively employed? Was that what you were speaking to?
Sort of, yeah. I didn't quite lay it out in that fine a detail, but yeah, just we're working on a project to get messaging out there about how supported decision making and other similar tools can be used to break down some barriers that people with significant disabilities and challenges have in finding employment, and often that we're finding those are in place with individuals who are under guardianship and or conservatorship. So yes, and
So it's twofold. One is getting individuals with more significant disabilities or impairments into the workforce, but also getting their legal representatives on the same page and supportive of that person's abilities or interests.
yes,
Okay.
that's correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
Thank you, Tom.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, great. Okay.
Let's go quick update from BESB. We have completed 4 of our 6 annual fall in services that we do for education team members working with children who are blind and visually impaired. And our participation this year has been really phenomenal. And I wanted to mention that because the Bureau of Special Education did a special push with our registration. So Brian, thank you. I think that really made a difference. That was really great. The first day we had walk-ins and we were at capacity. So it was a really good problem to have. So thank you for that.
Good turn.
Yeah, really good. So.
Excellent. Anybody else? Any updates? No? Anyone like? Okay, great. So the Bureau of Special Education update, please.
Absolutely. All right, I have a brief update today. I know we have most of the time that we're spending today.
We can do a quick pause if you want, because he's
Sure.
gonna set up the owl. Is that okay with everybody?
Sure.
This is Kevin. Kevin, you're on. Do you want,
Folks are having
Matt?
a hard time hearing.
Yeah,
us, even when we were projecting pretty loudly.
Should we stop this? Matt, you want to stop this for 1 minute for us? Thank you.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, you can't hear Tom.
They're having trouble hearing me.
Have that teacher
Yeah, we have problems.
Yeah, they can't hear me.
Yeah, yeah.
Say not to say. You guys ready? Matthew, would you please start us up? Thank you. Welcome back, everybody. Thank you for that short break. We have a Bureau of Special Education update.
And a new guest, the owl.
The
So
owl.
hopefully, well, it's not set up right now, but
The hell of a guess.
folks online hearing okay?
Yep.
Yeah.
Excellent. So brief update today. I wanted to mention a few things. Happy to answer any questions. Just an update on staffing. We had an opportunity to have you all meet our 3 newest associate consultants over the summer. So they've been really hit the ground running. Wonderful addition to the Bureau. That's Bridget Adams, Alexa Osterhout, and Laura Luna. Laura's been helping to roll out and oversee and manage secondary transition as a primary responsibility. Alexa has been taking on many new areas, including working on and being the primary point of contact for deaf and hard of hearing assessment guidelines, which we're very excited about, and working with some of our lower incident populations, which we haven't had a dedicated individual at the state in quite some time around. And so we're happy to have that extra attention and extra effort in that area for students with those specialized needs. Alexa's also been doing charter school visits. So October is very heavy for us in the charter school renewal process. So there are 3 schools that are scheduled for review. Special education team is part of those reviews. And then there's a report that we submit to the Board of Education for charter renewal process. And so being able to be engaged in that has been a wonderful learning opportunity. And they're also involved in complaint investigations. Bridget Adams has, as part of her primary responsibility, has joined our differentiated monitoring team and support and is taking on the lead around integrated monitoring. And so that's been a role that Mike Tavernier has had for several years, as well as the SPP State Performance Plan. And those are the 17 indicators that we report data on a regular basis. So Mike's now keeping that as a primary area of responsibility, and Bridget's taking on the integrated monitoring. If you recall, last year was the first year that we conducted random unannounced on-site visits for our schools and programs. We are kicking that off this month as well. And we've notified the districts. We've shared slides in the past on Connecticut's monitoring process, where we have 3 cohorts equally distributed geographically in size and demographics based on data from our performance office. This year is a cohort A year. And so we randomly selected 12 districts within that cohort for unannounced random on-site visits. We did notify the districts to let them know that they have been selected. They don't know when we're coming, but we're communicating with them in advance just to ensure that, you know, we're avoiding certain times of the year or field trips and so forth to make sure that it's effective and efficient. So just as a quick review on that, it involves 3 different areas or 3 different segments, if you will. One are IEP reviews for students that attend the program. The second piece are parent interviews. So we have parent questionnaires, and we appreciate CPAC's partnership in that, assisting in contacting parents and asking them questions that inform our report, and then classroom observations on site. And so that's been a part of that. And so we have our protocols that we run through. During our classroom observations, we're also doing staff interviews. So that's a snapshot of the process. We have partners at CERC that assist with that process, as well with our integrated monitoring teams on site. So the districts have been extremely cooperative and welcoming and flexible. That's the word, is the flexibility, because if you can't plan for a classroom observation and a site visit, it poses some challenges, both on the state side as well as the school side, obviously.
Right, can I ask a question?
Yeah, please.
The parent surveys, are they done by the state or are they done by CPAC?
CPAC conducts the interviews, and so they have the questions and contact the parents and the protocols, and then they summarize those and submit them to the state.
And the parents are told that this is going to be something that's going to be submitted to the state, so to cooperate.
It is.
And it's confidential.
It's anonymous, yes. And we try to adhere, you know, sometimes parents share information, you know, that may need to be redacted, for example, but it is anonymous. The districts don't know which parents are being contacted.
Right.
We had pretty low turnout last year, so we're looking at ways to get more parents' feedback through that process. The process we used was we emailed parents, gave them some information around what was being done. The district had been randomly selected, there's no issue, it's just part of the process. Well, there isn't any issue, but the state isn't going in based on a specific issue, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And then, they set up times where CPAC consultants are available for parents to call.
Okay.
And so it's sort of a passive, if you will, and not a direct dial, a direct call to the parent.
Okay.
So we're trying to think about different ways. The directors have actually suggested doing focus groups or prepping parents. We send a letter to the LEAs to share with their families before they receive the information from CPAC. So the director knows their families or the community, and they'll say, you may be contacted from CPAC in the upcoming weeks. This is part of this process. Please, if you have time, please
See,
participate.
that's, of course, I think that's good to get kind of a stamp of approval from the
Exactly.
state to have CPAC come in. So
Yeah.
that's good.
But emails, I know I'm not, like, my personal emails can sit for a very long time before you see them. And then, a call out of the blue, if you don't know the number, will you pick up? So we're trying, so I think focus groups would probably be ideal, is that message could go out and CPAC could conduct, but it's hard to do individual interviews in a focus group. Obviously, you'd have to do group versus individual, and what people share in groups is a little different than calling somebody individually. Having said that, we did, there was percentage of information that we received, and we share that back with the district. And it's all kept through SurveyMonkey. So it's, there are, charts and graphs that go along with the questions that are being asked.
Thanks.
I have a quick question.
Sure.
So this is cohort A year.
Yes.
So how long does it take you to go through all the cohorts? How many
It's
years?
3, so there are 3, so in a
Okay.
3-year cycle, we're back to the first cohort. So OSIP's requirements are that you have a touch point with each district or program every 6 years. So some districts, we've thought about doing less schools, more cohorts versus the 3 that we have now. And obviously there are pros and cons in how you structure that.
Thank you. I have a question too, Brian.
Yeah.
Do you write reports on these and are they public?
They are, yeah, we do. Both answer is both of those. So the district receives within, 30 to 60 days after the visit, there's a report that's issued that has recommendations. If there are any areas of non-compliance found, then there's required corrective actions. And we also have commendations of the programming that we saw. So it's a combination of all of that along with the parent survey.
Okay, and is it?
So we could
posted?
share those out. We have not posted them. Yeah. Yes,
Is it something you've considered posting them? Because I know like on the APSEPs, the approved private special education programs, those reviews are posted on CSD website, Connecticut State Department website.
If it's already, we've already thrown out.
I
the
know,
acronym,
I'm
we're
just
good.
being- I'm just being-
Quarters in the jar.
For sure. But no, anyway, no, I'm just curious, yeah.
Yeah.
How, you say they're public, but how would you know that it even exists, or how would a parent
Well, any
access it? How
document
would-
is public in that sense.
Right, how
So
would they access it, I guess is the
exactly,
question.
yeah, so I guess I would say, so as long as there's context, like this was our first year doing this particular process as well, so.
Yeah.
We mentioned that to the districts. It was new for the district, it was new for the state.
Sure.
So as we went through, there was kind of lessons learned in the template. We obviously have a template and it's pretty consistent throughout.
Okay.
But after the first year looking back, we have some, recommendations. The districts are excited from the perspective of, this can help be a training tool, or this is information that we can help build on some positive information that we have.
Right.
And so there's benefit for obviously for the district that receives it. There's benefit for the families to hear that information that happened in their district.
Right.
So we have thought about it. It's just a matter of how it's structured.
Okay.
And I think, I'll equate it to our complaint process right now, the complaint summaries that are posted. We could set something up similar to that so that those are available for folks that are interested.
Yeah, I'm just thinking of, so to Jen's point, like a
Yeah.
parent goes, hey, our district got reviewed. What did they find?
Yeah.
Accommodations, correctives, whatever, like, how do I know that without, I guess, calling the State Department and saying, can I get access to that review document sort of
Yeah.
thing? Or
Yeah.
the district may or may not give it to you if you asked, and people don't even know to ask. In
They
reality.
wouldn't really.
They don't
yeah.
even know to ask. They're like, oh, review happened, great, cool.
Yeah.
Next, let's make lunch for tomorrow. Like, they're not
Yeah.
thinking about it, but anyway, that'd be great if those were at some point accessible.
Yeah.
To parents and others,
Absolutely. Yeah.
And Anna, you have your hand up? Can you hear us?
Yeah,
Okay.
sorry, I just had to mute. Brian, you mentioned that the goal is to have contact every 6 years, to have eyes on. Would that be changing for privates, or privates are staying every 5 years at least?
So just to clarify, it's not a goal, it's in the guidelines from OSEP.
Okay.
So OSEP's guidelines for their general supervision say, and two states, that you should have a process where you have a touch point with schools and programs once every 6 years.
Right, okay.
So you can do less than that, but you can't do, it's one of those things where.
Okay.
And it's guidelines, so that there's no like legal necessary requirement.
Yes, I understand that.
Yeah, if OSEP came and did a review and saw our cohort cycle, we'd get a check for that. That we're touching points with districts for once every 3 years. We have no plans to change our approval process for private programs.
Okay, that's,
As far as
that was,
that 3 to 5 years approval, that will remain in place.
thank you.
We could do more than that if there's a need to, but.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yes.
I'm sorry, and real quick on charters, because you mentioned them.
Yeah.
Is that a similar timeline, and how often? I don't even have no idea how many charters there are, but is there every 3, 5, 6 years that you're doing that renewal process? You mentioned the renewal
There is.
of their
Yeah.
certification, or whatever it's called.
Yeah, and that's a different department
I'm
that
sure.
oversees that, so that's the talent office. We have a new bureau chief that, Dr. Jenkins, who, worked previously in Bridgeport.
Yeah.
And so she's overseeing that process, but it's similar in the context of the approved private, is that
Right, okay.
there's a renewal for 3 to 5 years.
Okay, so it's a
Yeah.
similar time frame.
It's similar timeframe, yeah.
Thanks.
And there's new charters every year, that, and some that end, their status, but we had one charter this year that asked for a delay in opening, so those types of things happen. And we are but the Bureau of Special Education is a member of all the different departments, so they kind of lead that process.
Thanks.
But it's important because we're finding, most of what we're finding, which is probably to no surprise to anyone here, there are teacher vacancies. So we're going on site, the teacher vacancies are in process, and obviously that's a concern. So the districts and the charters in that context have to work together to either hire or contract or figure out creative staffing structures to make sure that students are getting their services. And when they're not, they have to report to us what the plan is to make up those services.
Anna has her hand up. Is that a legacy or?
Yes, I forgot to ask this. Will this include RESC programs as well? Similar to charters?
So I'm not sure what you mean by this.
So
'cause we were
RESCs,
talking about the charter, we were talking about the charter renewal process, so RESCs are not included in that. RESCs are not included, obviously, in our AppSep renewal process.
Right.
But they are included in the integrated monitoring that the State
Oh,
Department.
they are included in integrated monitor. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that was, okay, thank you.
You're welcome,
We good?
unless the rest.
Lori's got her hand up.
Lori.
Oh, Lori, I'm sorry. Thank you. I couldn't.
No worries at all. And this may be for a different time, but I wanted to ask. So when it comes to parent feedback, this might be a project completely unto itself. I think that the perception needs to be changed in regard to the relationship. So, when you go into a PPT, and the feedback I hear from parents is that, you go into a PPT and it's a team effort, everyone's on the child's team, yet the perception from a lot of parents is that there's these backdoor conversations, that don't include them, and they come to the PPT with discussions already have happened. So I think that parents are hesitant as to how to have conversations or how open to be so that their child isn't affected by that in any way.
Yeah, thank you for that comment, Lori. What I'll say is that's one of the priority areas for the State Advisory Council this year. So PPT process and collaboration within. So it's actually a perfect segue into the priority activities. And it's a good point, Lori. And one of the things that we stress is the foundation of communication and partnerships, not only at the PPT or during and after. And so I think this council will have some recommendations for us and perhaps, different ways that we can support educators and families through a challenging and complex process.
Agreed. Okay.
Thank you. Before we segue, I just want to welcome Lena and Jake. Welcome. Nice to see you.
Great.
Thank you. All right.
Yeah, I have a few other updates, just
Oh,
really,
okay. I thought you
really
said one.
briefly.
Okay.
So the State Board of Education charged the commissioner with supporting Hartford Public Schools and looking at, based on the budget cuts that they had, significant budget cuts. We were concerned around in a few different areas. So the State Department is conducting an audit around their fiscal procedures, as well as special education. And then the third area is around magnet school and funding involved with that. So we partnered with CERC and New Solutions K-12 to do an audit in Hartford Public Schools. The updates have been submitted to the board on a monthly basis. I wanted you all to know that Nate Levinson's work with New Solutions is starting this month, and a report will be issued in this December ahead of the legislative session. Related to special education, what we're looking at are the outplacement process for Hartford Public Schools, as well as their in-district capacity to meet highly intensive needs students, as well as their staffing, recruitment, and retention areas. So they have significant vacancies in their special education teachers, as well as related services, just as many other districts are experiencing. So it's been a collaborative process with Hartford Public Schools. They've welcomed the support. After the findings, the New Case Solutions will have a plan, a recommended plan moving forward, and CERC as well to provide supports to be able to move that plan forward. And we're hoping that it won't only benefit Hartford Public Schools, but other districts as well with the process and the recommendations that are found. So our next board meeting, or certainly the one thereafter, I'll have some specifics and some early findings as part of that report. Yeah.
Just quickly say a little New Case Solutions. I'm not familiar.
Yeah, so they're a vendor, New Solutions K-12. Nate Levinson leads that group. He used to be with District Management Group out of Boston. He's a former superintendent as well as educator. He did a survey for us last year and some work around CT SEDS. He conducted focus groups for school districts. They have really good rapport and relationships with our state and have worked with Hartford in the past. They've done similar studies in Boston Public Schools, for example, and he has a lot of publications around what special education teachers are asked to do on a daily basis. And if you were at back to school last year, he had the kind of decathlon of, they have to be good at everything, right? And it's difficult to be good at everything. And so there's a lot of facets. So he does time studies and so forth. And part of that work will be overlapping what we're looking at in Hartford. So
Thank you.
You're welcome. So I know we want to make sure we have full time on the priorities, so I can definitely segue now and.
Oh, but if you do more updates?
No, just a couple of, just a couple
Go
of other
ahead. We
things
have
that
time.
I think they'll come up in the context of the priorities, so.
Oh, okay.
But I'm happy to answer any questions about other things that are happening at the State Department. We're very excited for the year kicking off. There's a lot of activity going on. I mentioned the new folks work that are coming in. We also have 2 new ed specialists that are going to be joining our team shortly, hopefully, and still looking for, still in the process of a Bureau of Special Education Bureau Chief to work on the team as well, so.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity to update you all.
No, appreciate it. So now we have priority review, and I assume we're reviewing last year's priorities and recommendations?
Yes, so this is kind of the work before we break into our, let me just look at the agenda here. We have the end of the public meeting coming up at 11:30, but if we could just try to summarize the activity with the public, I think, and then we can ask, does that make sense? So Jolie, if you can project for folks online, the recommendation document that I sent earlier this morning.
Yep, I will do that now.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, everybody should have a hard copy. You can send an email to Jolie to everybody to make sure they have an electronic copy if they're working individually on their laptops. That might be helpful too. But basically, as Jolie's pulling that up, what I thought might be helpful, and feel free to suggest different ways to do this. But this document are the recommendations that you made last year in the annual report. And I know you're all familiar with it and worked very hard on the report, but I thought it would be worthwhile to just take time to read your recommendations from last year individually. And then if we break up into groups and look at those same recommendations and just think one of 3 things. One, did this already happen? Was this achieved? Is this where it needs to be? Can it be removed? 2, is there a recommendation? Is this a recommendation that can be tweaked or edited and submitted again? Or 3, what's the third one, Tom?
That is the third.
That is the third.
Remove, edit.
Yeah.
And
Or-
then remain or be restated?
Yes, exactly. Remain or,
I
so
actually have your
I
words
kind of
from last year.
combine too.
Sort of like 2.5.
I
Exactly.
literally wrote your words from last year: expand, dig deeper, or revise, which is adjust or reform.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well said. But
Well said.
essentially, it doesn't have to be that formal, but essentially, I think there are some great recommendations. It was wonderful work that you did last year. And I know there's still work pending in these areas, and some you may be like, oh, whatever happened with that? So
I have a quick question. Would you, when we go through them?
it's a different document.
Yeah, Jolie, it looks like, can she see this? Probably not.
I think
It's
you
the
had
other
it on
one.
there before. It's the other
It's
one.
the other one that's attached to that same thing you discussed.
Yeah.
When you go through this, if there's something that your department has done, could you tell us in case we are unaware of it? Like on a recommendation? Or forgot, yeah.
That's exactly why we're doing this.
Great,
Yeah.
thank you so much.
Yeah, so what we can do, so if you just kind of bear with me here, if you take maybe 5-10 minutes to just read through, these are your recommendations, they're taken right, cut and paste right out of the annual report. And then we'll break into 3s, groups of 3. Fine, Jolie, everyone can do this together. It's it's the document with the recommendations on it, not the one that you have up now.
Can we do groups of 4? A lot of people.
What, this is what you sent me via the chat, right?
It's, if you do 4, it'll be 2 groups. Otherwise, it'll be 3.
There's 10 of us.
You could do 3 groups of 3
Okay.
here in the room.
I just want to make sure we have enough knowledge and
Yeah, it'll work out.
especially group line then.
It'll work out. Yeah, you got 3 here, 3 there,
3.
3 there,
Thank you.
plus me and Sean, we can kind of move around. And then we'll come together and then, if you just highlight or circle and say, this is exactly what we need this year, or, emphasize it, edit it, reinforce, or there may be new ideas. And so that brings us into the second part of our time together today, where we do a little more brainstorming around the priority areas. And that's the second document that we'll share a little bit later.
Okay, so Brian, the one that you want me to share is which one? Is it the one you sent in the chat? Are you asking me to share the?
The only other one I sent.
Okay, the annual report recommendations.
You got it.
Thank you.
In logistics, are we ending the public meeting so that Matt can
Yes.
stop that at some point?
Yes.
That's why I'm just checking if. you want
Yeah,
me-
Yeah, I just was, if Joe, I just want to
He
make
just
sure
wants to
Jolie
show
has the
yes,
right
first.
one, and then to make sure that's up, and then we should be good to go.
And
I do. Yep.
for one thing,
Not
it's
that one,
on,
he's like, what
it's
can I
on
read?
the CSDE website, under documents, under this council.
The annual report
The annual
is.
report, that this is what we're looking at.
And if you could find that.
2023.
you get prize.
I just.
You can find that on the State Farm website, you
easy.
get prize.
It's pretty easy.
It's one of our, more
I
direct
just
routes.
Google everything.
Yes, Google.
I just Google everything and it brings it
It's
to.
very,
That's a good way
actually
to do it.
very
The new
easy.
Google AI stuff
recommend
too,
you
it works
guys.
awesome. Brings you right to it.
Yes, thank you, Jolie. That's it. Yeah, so for folks online, what we're doing is just taking 5 minutes or so, 10 minutes to read through your recommendations from last year. Jolie, we could email it individually to folks too, if you are able to do that.
Yeah, that would be better to email it that way.
I
You
can
don't have to
email it, but I'm
scroll.
gonna I'll stop sharing my screen for a moment and email you guys this, and then I'll come right back, okay?
Perfect, perfect.
You got it. Just give me, I'll do it quickly. Of
Thanks, Jolie. All right,
course.
You want to make a motion? Adjourn.
motion.
You want me to make a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
I just want to make sure it's okay with Brian. Yes,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
we're making a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Everybody, we're gonna adjourn. We're gonna go off the public
Okay, we're leaving.
meeting so we can do work groups.
All right.